So here we are the day after Manchester City's very disappointing 0-0 draw at the Etihad Stadium against Arsenal. And I thought I'd sort of do a bit of a post-mortem of that game. Now, a post-mortem usually implies a defeat or a painful loss or something like that. And I admit off the bat that this seems a tad maybe reactionary. But I guess the reason I'm using a post-mortem because it feels potentially like some of our title chances may have died a little bit. Not fully. And there's lots to unpack, and I'm going to try and do that throughout the course of this video. But it's been around 24 hours now since the match, a whole day later. And I think my mood and my emotions, and hopefully some of yours as well, has sort of settled and shifted a few times depending on who I speak to or depending on what I read online. And the more I think about it, and it's very hard to sort of take stock of what we witnessed. And it's also very hard to take stock and form conclusions given that there's still a quarter of the season left. And that quarter of the season is absolutely pivotal. So what I'm going to try and do today is I'm going to try and break down where we're at, why we're at where we're at, how can I see it unfolding, the positives, the negatives, and the sort of bigger picture, because I think there's loads to unpack from a game like that and a season like we've had so far. And it's not easy to do because I don't think anyone's necessarily wrong, unless they're going too crazy, obviously. But largely, there's a centre bit, and then there's sort of opinions either side of it. And I think most of them are reasonably justified depending on your mood and your argument. So it's very hard to sum up. Obviously, this is my channel, so these are my thoughts. I'm not saying yours are wrong, but I will just try and give my opinion. If you like these videos, by the way, please do help support the channel. Give the video a like and subscribe to the channel while you're here. It is absolutely appreciated if you enjoy calm, hopefully reasonable, and entertaining Manchester City content. So this game yesterday, how does my head feel? I still feel deflated after it. I can't deny that. The season isn't over. That's the first thing we need to get into our minds. There's a tendency to sort of catastrophize or doommonger after a performance that felt crucial. And I even did in my preview, I titled it a season-defining game potentially. And it felt that way. We win the league. Probably, arguably, momentum. Lose, maybe we don't. But draw, it didn't. It was really hard to sort of summarise how that would go. And I sort of wish the performance had been more clear-cut, bad or good one way or another. But it was sort of neutral. Everything feels very neutral. And I think that could also feed into the frustration because some things are answered, but not everything is answered. And I think the indecisiveness that makes it feel even more confusing and more frustrating because we don't fully know where we're at. Like, are City still good enough to win it? Probably, yeah. Will we win it? It doesn't feel like it. Maybe. I don't know. I think you have to be really optimistic to feel right now that City are going to win the league. But you'd also have to be really unfair to say that this team, who have achieved what they have achieved, absolutely can't win it. I think that's unfair at the same time. So what you get is this sort of limbo. Like City are in this sort of awkward state of nothingness right now as we sit behind a Liverpool side with this wonderful, for Liverpool fans, narrative behind them about Klopp's last season, and we sit behind an Arsenal side who've now taken 4 points from us in the league when last year they wouldn't even touch us. They were overwhelmed by us. So it's hard not to feel a little bit deflated. I get that. Does that mean we should throw the baby out with the bathwater? No, probably not, once again. And I do think these players have plenty of credit in the bank. And I say that as if something's gone wrong. It sort of hasn't. We're 3 points off the top. We're in the Champions League. We're in the FA Cup. We're still technically on for a treble. I don't think we're going to get a treble, but we're technically still on for it. A technicality, of course, but it's a very valid point. As Guardiola also always says, it's impressive to be there. So it's not fair to come down on these players too hard. It is remarkable to be where they are still. It's so hard. It's so hard. And I'm going to stress this again, and you've heard it before, and it may sound like a broken record, but it is worth repeating for a reason. It's so hard to keep going again and again and again because naturally that drive won't subconsciously be as strong as it would be previously. And that's not to say the players aren't trying. I think it will be subconscious. I don't think anyone at Manchester City is where they are because they don't care. I think they all want to win. But it's human nature. Human nature that when you've won everything, a draw or a loss or something not going your way will just sting a tiny little bit less than it did previously. And that's natural. And you can't then just go around and go, well, you should move everyone on and blah, 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 because you can't replace the whole squad of players. You can't get rid of players you want to be there who are happy who've just won you a treble. It's catch-22, you know? Some may not have the hunger as much as they used to. Or they all may have the hunger. It could just be personnel. It's many reasons. I don't even think I think it's fair to even say that the players haven't got the hunger. I think they probably still. There's nothing to suggest that they don't. But it's possible that extra motivation, desire is gone. And it's also possible that it's just a personnel issue, you know. I look at this Manchester City side and I look at where it went wrong yesterday. It wasn't defensively. It wasn't in midfield. Arguably a bit of midfield. It was probably going forward. Like, defensively, I need to, as a slight tangent, I need to talk about how good Arsenal are. A lot of people are down on City yesterday, but they forget just how good Arsenal are. They've been fantastic. They've won every single game in 2024. They've been the most territorially dominant team in the league. They were the top goal scorers, the most stingiest defence. They proved that again yesterday. But they came to the Etihad and they set back and they defended. And City were by far the better side in the ball still. And it still very much, to me, shows that Arsenal are sort of tiny bit in thrall to City. And that is a positive. So it shows the levels that we got if we can reach them, that we are potentially still there, and that is important. So Arsenal are very good, and that's the caveat we need to remember when we talk about this performance, because Arsenal, like, they aren't nobodies. They're a brilliant side. It's hard to do what City did yesterday, even just keep the ball for the whole game. Never mind beat them. But we still probably should have beat them. But the problem yesterday, it felt like it wasn't a lack of effort for me. I don't think it was a lack of focus. And it sounds weird saying this because Manchester City have loads of quality, but it was down to a lack of quality, but not quality in terms of the ability of the players. I'm probably talking about specific qualities in these players. I'm watching that game yesterday and I've watched a little bit back and I've thought about it an awful lot. And I'm looking at profiles and I'm looking at what we've got and what we're missing. And to me, there are gaping holes. Even when you just assess our level compared to the last season, we've lost so many different types of approach in the game. And some players are just getting older. And once again, maybe the hunger has dropped a tiny bit. Maybe the hunger hasn't dropped. Maybe Arsenal, Liverpool's hunger has just got stronger, because when you set the bar really high, everyone is desperate to get at you and prove a point. And that drive for the other teams is just more insatiable, potentially. But when I look at the team yesterday, and even though we have the brilliance of Foden and De Bruyne and Haaland and so on, I was watching it thinking, we're crying out for width. We're attacking the penalty box, but we're only using the width for the penalty box. We're not using the width for the pitch. And that's because, compared to even last season, we just have no real magic coming from fullbacks. Obviously, at one point we had João Cancelo, and I know last season we didn't necessarily use Cancelo much towards the end of the season, but there was width elsewhere on the pitch too. We had Riyad Mahrez, who would bring a natural bit of width. We had an informed Jack Grealish who was hugging the touchline. We also had the magic, and Gundogan is this of 𝙏𝙬𝙨𝙪𝙚 Gundogan, you know, and Riyad Mahrez. So we had a little bit more individual magic, and the thing about those two is, not only do they bring magic, they bring control at the same time. So you had Grealish banging form, who brought a lot of width and a little bit of magic, a lot of creativity. You had Gundogan, who brought loads of control and a little bit of magic and big goals. And you had Mahrez, who brought loads of width and control and magic. I know they didn't all start every single game, but those variables are important. And now look at what we had out wide. Grealish is just not in form. We had Foden, who wants to play central. He didn't get on the ball much in that kind of half pocket space that he wants to be. And when we bring Doku on, Doku has a little bit of magic, but he's not got the goal threat. And he definitely doesn't have the control either in the way that the other did. So we're sort of sacrificing something a little bit. And this team seems just a tiny bit predictable. And Kevin De Bruyne, he's not on it. He's not on it right now. Maybe it could be his age. It could be just his form after his injury. Haaland definitely isn't on it at all. So we feel like we've lost just a little bit going forward. It's enough, of course, to beat most teams. But there's a reason when I look at City's results that we've not won a game by more than 2 goals for an awful long time. I'm going back, I'm trying to find the last time we won a game by more than... Okay, the FA Cup, Luton. 6-2. I'll take that. But in the league... as I can't find the last time in the league that we won by more than 2 goals. I don't think we have since Bournemouth in November. It's been a long time. We are struggling to score a lot of goals consistently. We're struggling to break teams down, and by sheer hook and crook and brilliance, we have the quality to win most games. But we aren't quite as... I don't know. We're lacking a little bit of something, a little bit of magic. And is all this necessarily a problem? So I've talked about what we're missing there, and I think this is what's going wrong. We've got the control, we've got the stability, but can this be fixed? Can it be changed around? And it is worth remembering, it was around 1st of April last year, actually, when City sort of got going. I don't know if we're going to, but there is still 9 games left, and it is very possible. Guardiola, I feel like he's going to have to make some changes of some kind. Like, I watched it yesterday, and we saw Kanji and Vardiol sort of trying to keep the width, and I was like, they're not offering anything there. I'm not sure they're going to. And it felt like Haaland, he wasn't being utilised, and he's out of form a little bit. And I feel like Pep needs to come up with something right now. The control is good, but the creativity just isn't there to the level that we need it. And it could be that, the other teams drop some points and we continue to win, because we've only got we've only got 9 games left and a lot of very winnable games there. We have got the quality, and you never know. But right now, it does feel like the level is just a little bit less than last season. And I think that, combined with the fact that other teams are better than last season because they've got increased hunger and desire and so on, it might just be a step too far to go 4 in a row. And it's the reason teams don't do it, because mentally it's so difficult to do. It's so hard to keep that team innovative, fresh, eager, hungry. It's so hard to get the transfers right all the time. And it's just a big ask. It's a big ask. When you reach the top, the only way is down. I think everyone is aware of that. And you can turn around and go, it shouldn't be. But you're not living in the real world if that's how you feel. Because I understand the demands are high always. But people are people. They are going to get caught bogged down in this. They are going to make mistakes. They are going to have an off-season. Sometimes you need that off-season to sort of get going again. You need to crash back down to reality and then be reminded that you're only human. That you are fragile. You can make mistakes. And that success that you've earned isn't guaranteed. You're going to have to work again to get it. And I think that's fair to say that these players, I think most of them will be aware of that. And I think maybe this season is a transitional season for City. Maybe the summer wasn't quite good enough with some of the players you brought in. Kovacic is a good player. He ain't Gundogan in terms of the magic. Nunes seems like a work in progress. Doku is a raw young winger, and I've got a lot of time for him. But he is raw still. He doesn't have the quality immediately of Mahrez, for example. The experience. Vardiol, really good. An excellent defender. Doesn't really give us a lot at the moment that we desperately needed, I would say. But he's a fantastic player. And then I look at the profiles that we're missing, and I'm thinking, we probably could do, with someone else to help support Rodri, take a bit of pressure off. Maybe you could do it. Paqueta would have been brilliant, another controller type, or maybe another aggressive dribbler, someone who can bring a little bit of magic that way. I don't know. Maybe we could do with some traditional fullbacks, because this centre-back thing is sort of trying a little bit. I don't know. It feels that way to me. But ultimately, is all this an issue? It feels harsh to come down on the Manchester City side that have achieved so much, given that I expected it to be a transitional season. And having said that, we still could win a whole bunch of trophies this year. It's very hard to judge. I feel like sometimes we lose sight of where we are and what we've done, and the level of criticism isn't always justified. I don't think it is always. Criticism is fine. I get it. But I do think we should remember we're fans, and these players have earned our trust. And we're not there just to sort of pull players to pieces. We're there to sort of appreciate, support, get behind, and hopefully enjoy what we witness, And I don't know about you, but I've had a hell of a ride. I know I sound a little bit like I'm coming to the end here, but we maybe are with Guardiola. And I think some of us are going to have a rude awakening when it moves on. So that's where I'm at with my head. I think there's inevitably some problems with this team. I don't think we're quite at the level we are. I don't think it's a terrifying situation. I think people are acting like everything's terrible. We're shocking. We're not. We're good. We're still probably going to win something this year. Could even win the Champions League, FA Cup. I don't know. Could even win the league again. But I think it's fair to say that we're not quite great, but we're not bad. We're very good still. It's so hard to balance. And I think that limbo nature of where we're at right now is what's making it so difficult for so many people. I would plead for calmness. I would plead for perspective. Well, at the same time, there's nothing wrong with expectations. I think we need to remember what we've just witnessed. And football and Twitter and the internet does not let you savour any moment, because it's always about the next game, the next culture war, the next battle. And that ties you down, and it makes people tetchy and negative. And it makes people forget what these players have done, because last June feels like a billion miles away now. But it wasn't. It was reasonably recent, and these players have earned our trust. So let's see where we're at. We're still a remarkably good team. We've achieved things that I never thought we'd see in a City shirt. And yeah, maybe this season might be one where we don't win the league. But that is actually quite normal, Only one team can win the league, and we've been hogging it recently. So if we don't win it this season, I'm not going to kick off. I suspect, actually, that will ignite a renewed hunger and an explosive transfer market, and it could be very fun. But I'm not going to criticise these players too intensely. I think Guardiola, probably a little bit on him. I think the system needs to change a tiny bit. Maybe the personnel isn't quite there for the current ideas. We need a little bit of spark from somewhere. I don't know what it's going to be, what the solution is going to be, or if we can even solve it. But I do know we're not in a bad position as such, but things aren't perfect. But that can be okay. And that is life. That is normal. That's how my head's at right now. I want more. I hope for more. But I'm not going to kill them if they don't give it, because I don't think the effort is lacking. I don't think the intentions are anything other than good, and I think they've earned our respect. Blues, that's where I'm at. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling today. Love you all out. In a bit. Bye-bye.